He took me back to East Atlanta. Oh, my heart is in Havana. My heart is in Havana. La mejor versión de mí no la conociste tú, porque siempre me frenaste con tu pésima actitud. Nunca pude ser quien era por amarte a tu manera. Me olvidé hasta de serio.
La mejor versión de ti no le he merecido yo. Reconozco cada fallo, estropeé tu complejos de ser rey. Mi forma devastadora ignoraba tu corona. Y se cambian los papeles, se acabó mi suerte. Los llantos que he causado los pago con creces. Por mi dictadura, por mis idioteces, termino en un remix sufriendo por perderte. Es que estoy aquí observando la mejor versión de ti. Es el karma de la vida, bien lo que me toca. Hoy que ella eres mía, yo te haré a mi esposa. Malgaste tu tiempo, arruiné tu cuento. Tú fuiste demasiado y yo poca cosa. Nadie estoy aquí observando la mejor versión de ti. Yo te hice sufrir. Tú viviste la peor versión de mí.
Pero quise ser más fuerte y ahora estoy tan convencida que no debo verte, que perdí mi tiempo mientras tú ganabas, porque valgo mucho más de lo que imaginabas. Y ahora estoy aquí
Desde que te perdí,
disfrutando la mejor versión de mí.
no es así.
Porque hoy que no te tengo, tengo tantas cosas. Ahora empiezo a disfrutar un poco más las rosas. Porfa, no me insistas, tampoco lo intentes. Si ya sé que nunca cumples lo que me prometes. Y ahora estoy aquí disfrutando la mejor versión de mí.
Nadie estoy aquí. No merezco la mejor versión de ti. Maldito sentimiento.
Si vienen a bailar, nos vamos a gozar. Si vienen a dormir, hasta fuera de aquí. Oh, uno está sentado, tira la silla a un lado. Baila, baila sin parar, no hay tiempo para descansar. Este baile es para ti, quiero verte hasta sudar. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria. Y ya te estoy notando que hay otras personas que no gustan bailar. Baila, baila sin parar, no hay tiempo de descansar. Este baile es para ti, quiero verte hasta sudar. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria.
Mira, Juan, no se puede ni mover. Cuando empiezan los zapatos, muchos lo van a traer. Mira, María, no se mueve de su silla. Es lo que te pasa siempre si comes mucha tortilla. Mira, José, cuando más está sentado, se tomó mucha cerveza y ahora camina de lado. Mira, Rosa no se quiere levantar porque todo de las medias no la vayan a mirar.
Baila, baila sin parar, no hay tiempo de descansar. Este baile es para ti, quiero verte hasta sudar. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria. Muévele aquí, muévele, muévele aquí, muévele, muévele aquí, no le muevas tanto, alto. Alright, oh yeah, alright, oh yeah, alright, oh yeah, alright, oh yeah. Baila, baila sin parar, no hay tiempo de descansar. Este baile es para ti, quiero verte hasta sudar. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria. De mundo para acá, de mundo para allá, este nuevo baile de la Techqueria.
Voy a reír, voy a bailar, vivir mi vida, la, 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 la. Voy a reír, voy a gozar, vivir mi vida, la, 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 la. Voy a reír, voy a bailar, vivir mi vida, la, 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 la. Voy a reír, voy a gozar, vivir mi vida, la, la, la. A veces llega la lluvia para limpiar las heridas, a veces solo una gota puede vencer la sequía. ¿Y para qué llorar? ¿Para qué? Si duele una pena, se olvida. ¿Y para qué sufrir? ¿Para qué? Si así es la vida, hay que vivirla. Voy a reír, voy a bailar, vivir mi vida, la, 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 la. Voy a reír, voy a gozar, vivir mi vida, la, 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 la. Voy a vivir el momento para entender el destino. Voy a escuchar el silencio para encontrar el camino. ¿Y para qué llorar? ¿Para qué? Si duele una pena, vivir, la, 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 la. Voy a reír, voy a gozar, vivir mi vida, la, 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 la. Y arriba yo, mi papá y la tona. Contaré la historia de una famosa persona. Todos la conocen con el apodo de Chona. Todos la conocen con el apodo de Chona. Su marido dice ya no sé qué hacer con ella. Diario va a los bailes y se compra una botella. Diario va a los bailes y se compra una botella. Se arranca la banda canción y la Chona luego busca bailador. Y la Chona luego busca bailador. La gente la mira y le empieza a gritar: bravo, bravo Chona, nadie te puede igualar. Bravo, bravo Chona, nadie te puede igualar. Y la Chona se mueve y la gente le grita: no es mejor que la Chona, para la quebradita. Y la Chona se mueve al ritmo que le toquen. Ella baila de todo, nunca pierde su trote. Y gozan el rodillo. Contaré la historia de una famosa persona. Todos la conocen con el apodo de Chona. Todos la conocen con el apodo de Chona. Su marido dice ya no sé qué hacer con ella. Diario va a los bailes y se compra una botella. Diario va a los bailes y se compra una botella. Se arranca la banda con la primera canción. Y la Chona luego busca bailador. Y la Chona luego busca bailador. La gente la mira y le empieza a gritar: bravo, bravo Chona, nadie te puede igualar. Bravo, bravo Chona, nadie te puede igualar. Y la Chona se mueve y la gente le grita: no es mejor que la Chona, para la quebradita. Y la Chona se mueve al ritmo que le toquen. Ella baila de todo, nunca pierde su trote. Ritmo y sabor, los Tucanes de Tijuana. Y la Chona se mueve y la gente le grita: no hay mejor que la Chona, para la quebradita. Y la Chona se mueve al ritmo que le toquen. Ella baila de todo, nunca pierde su trote. Quiero que me vuelvan a mirar tus ojos. Amor, 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 amor. Quiero volver a besar tus labios rojos. ¿Cómo no acordarme de ti? ¿De qué manera olvidarte? Si todo me recuerda, en todas partes estás tú. Si en una rosa estás, sin ganas de respirar estás, ¿cómo me voy a olvidar? besando la cruz que está, rezando una oración está. ¿Cómo me voy a olvidar? ¿Cómo me voy a olvidar? Si te clavaste aquí en mi corazón y de amor has llenado mi alma y tu sangre corre por mis venas y mi sangre me hace estremecer contigo. Quiero que me vuelvan a mirar con mis ojos. Amor, amor, amor. Amor, amor, amor. Quiero volver a besar tus labios rojos. ¿Cómo no acordarme de ti? ¿De qué manera olvidarte? Si todo me recuerda a ti, en todas partes estás tú. Si en una rosa estás, si en cada respirar estás, ¿cómo me voy a olvidar? ¿Cómo me voy a olvidar? Si besando la cruz estás, besando la oración estás, ¿cómo me voy a olvidar? ¿Cómo me voy a olvidar?
Going live. All right, we are live. Hello, hello. Welcome to Techqueria's LHM Summit. I am Frances Coronel, co-director of Techqueria, and this is Felipe, other co-director of Techqueria. And this is my dog Shirampo, more on him later. So we're gonna get started. What we're gonna be covering in this first talk of the summit is quite a lot. So first, we're just going to do some intros from Felipe and I, talking a little bit more about ourselves. Felipe will be discussing or giving an intro of Techqueria and how our community matters. And then I will be covering member growth, the attendee overview, some cool stats there, giving a thank you to the entire summit team, mighty 12 folks who just helped out and made this like a huge reality. Thank you so much. And then roadmap for Techqueria, past and future initiatives that we have either launched or planning to launch. All right, so with that being said, Felipe, do you want to start with your intro and then I can introduce and then we can hop back to you?
Sure, thank you so much, Francis. So I'm Felipe Ventura. I'm a co-director here at Techqueria. I've been organizing here in the Bay Area and nationally for a little over 4 years now. I'm so happy that we are doing this summit. It's something that we've wanted to do for a while. And with COVID and pandemic and our shift to virtual events, we thought that this would be a great opportunity for our community to connect. And yeah, looking forward to 3 days of magnificent talks, panels, and networking.
Thanks, Felipe. And then I'm Frances Coronel. I am the other co-director for Techqueria. I joined Techqueria, I think a little more than 3 years ago in 2017. And I was just a member at the time. And then I started to get more involved because my full-time job is as a software engineer on the web team at Slack. And so I really love the web. I love building cool pages. And I wanted to help with the Techqueria website. So I got involved with that more. And I eventually was able to win Techqueria a grant from Sentry, which is this error tracking software, to iterate even more on the website. And I just got more and more involved. Eventually,
became a board member, became the executive director of technology, and then this year in January, officially became part of the staff for Techqueria as a nonprofit. Actually incorporated as a nonprofit 501c3 back in March of last year. So it's been quite a roller coaster. And, you know, this year, obviously with COVID-19, no one was really expecting that. We definitely were not expecting that, but I think like we made a really good transition to like this new reality that we're in. And I'm so excited to have you all here today to enjoy the LHM Summit with us. So with that being said, Felipe, I'll hand it off to you to talk about, you know, Techqueria and then why the community matters.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Francis. So I imagine most of y'all have been part of our community or on our Slack, but if this is your first time at one of our events, welcome. So Techqueria's mission is to provide Latinx professionals with the resources and support they need to become leaders in the tech industry. And our long-term vision is to become the most powerful professional network for Latinx professionals in the tech industry, not only in this country, but globally. And we definitely have the capacity to do it. Our growth, and Francis will go into the metrics a little later, have been astounding. And not only in the metric side, but the type of community that we're building is fantastic. So I'd like to personally thank the organizing committee for working so hard the past couple of months as well, making this a reality. And before we start off, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're streaming from. I'm currently in Richmond, California in the East Bay, and the indigenous people here are the Ohlone people. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We stand in solidarity with the indigenous people of this land in their struggle for recognition, reparations, and land rights. We also acknowledge that we're at a historical moment right now and stand in solidarity with those reimagining safety and freedom in the face of systemic racism in Black communities. Black Lives Matter. So I decided to title my talk Our Community Matters, a reflection on personal and collective power, because we're here for Latinx Heritage Month. And we're also a professional network. We're trying to help, and also the group at large. For those of you that don't know too much about the history of Latinx Heritage Month, or Hispanic Heritage Month, it started in the late 60s, and it started as a week in California, and it was passed through legislation. And as you all know, late 60s was an era of a lot of political struggle. There's a lot of groups from the United Farm Workers, Brown Berets, Young Labor Party, trying to push social justice forward. Now, why does it happen in this particular time of the year? So this particular time of the year was chosen because it commemorates the independence movements that swept across Mexico and Central America that were a larger continuation of the liberation movements that started with the successful slave revolts in Haiti. So I'm providing that historical context because our community has always had to fight for just our right to exist and to carve out spaces on a number of fronts. And as Latinx in tech, we are in a notoriously exclusive sector where we're oftentimes the only Latinx member in our teams, if not our entire companies. We frequently get members that are reaching out to us saying, wow, like I didn't have a network before joining Techqueria. Something that we're very, very proud of. And we want to just connect all of us as much as possible to provide that network. As you all know, many of us are already starting as outliers, and many are coming from immigrant families if we're not immigrants ourselves. And we're both either transitioning to US culture and balancing US culture with our own cultural legacies at home. A lot of us are the first in our families to achieve professional success, whether that be entering to college, getting a role in tech. And that's a source of pride for not only our families, but ourselves and our peers. And it's also a lot to deal with alone. And that's why community matters. We are here to navigate uncharted territories together and create transformative possibilities together. So on the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about representation and why our representation matters. As I mentioned before, Techqueria's mission is to promote leadership of Latinx in tech. And we do that specifically by creating spaces where our members share their lived experience in their workplaces and outside of their workplaces. So when we think of representation, we oftentimes think about media representation in print, in movies, TV shows. And yes, that's really important. It's also important to create spaces where we can connect on a personal and professional level with peers that look like us. And so throughout this talk, I'm referring to, but we're more than just a community. We are a community network, and there's some distinctions between a community and a community network. Some of them are that we provide a public space to connect virtually and in person. We value communication more than just sharing information. We have a local focus, and that's represented in our chapters. And the communication that we have in our channels cover all aspects of life, not just professional life. And I invite you all to join our Slack if you haven't. We have over 300 different channels where we talk about all sorts of things, and Frances will get into some of those channels in her presentation. So I'd like to just share a bit about my personal story and how representation showed up in my life. So to the that and I was privileged enough to start coding when I was in high school and later on take computer science courses in college. It wasn't until I moved to the Bay Area and pair programmed with a software engineer that looked like me that I actually saw myself in that position as a software engineer. I don't know any way to describe it other than it was a moment where things just clicked. And the past couple of years, the things that I was doing, I saw myself as being able to make a living and a career off of that. And so I mention this because that's a partly cultural phenomenon, and there's a lot of terms for it. Some folks call it imposter syndrome, and there's other ways to describe it, but it frequently reminds me of a Toni Morrison quote on the function of racism in our lives. And to paraphrase the quote is, it says that the function of racism is distraction. It keeps us from doing our work. It keeps us explaining over and over again why we exist. It says that we have no language or ability. And it basically keeps us on the defensive instead of us creating our own possibilities and our own realities. And when we have representation, when we see ourselves, it has the capacity of clearing up those distractions. So again, representation is not only about images, it's also about actions. And when we see people like ourselves act in a way that we thought at some point was unimaginable, something changes within us. And that individual change has repercussions on a collective, on a community level. That's why I'm so excited for the possibilities that we have the next 3 days. We have almost 100 speakers, 3 days packed of panels, talks, and so many opportunities to connect and network. I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes of it in the next couple of days and weeks to come. So on the next slide, I'd like to talk a little bit about why our stories matter. So when we share our stories and experiences with others, uh, we build the capacity for empathy. And that's really important because empathy is the cornerstone of collective action and liberation. So in tech, we talk a lot about how we're going to change the industry so that it's more representative of our society at large, so that we can get more Latinx people into roles, not only entry roles, but management roles and other underrepresented groups. And these solutions have largely failed because, in my opinion, excuse me, in my opinion, they have followed top-down approaches and they have lacked a commitment to building empathy. And empathy is like, it requires listening, and listening is a skill that's actually very hard to do. And as Latinx in tech, we're in a unique position. We're coming from a lot of different backgrounds, races, cultures, and I believe that we have the ability, the capacity to be more empathetic than a lot of our peers. Again, a personal story. I grew up in New York City, in Washington Heights. Washington Heights is a predominantly working class Dominican neighborhood. And some of my earliest memories around when I was 4 was me working with my grandma, cleaning homes for wealthy families downtown. I didn't know that I was cleaning other people's homes. It was kind of like a game for me. And only later in life did I realize the class dynamics that were happening there. As I grew older, I was very lucky that my mom and my family were really invested in my education, and I was able to attend schools and colleges that expanded my network and created more and more opportunities for me. And so that eventually led to my first software engineering position at a public company. And the first day I got there, I noticed my teammates, and I also noticed the other workers on the floor, the workers that were cleaning and supporting the work that I did. And I had empathy for them. They felt like my family. And those workers, they were raising kids like me in the past. So I had an immediate connection, and I had the ability to have empathy for what they were doing. That connection push for better working conditions for them and organize so that they could be seen by others as well. And not everyone is coming from the same place, of course. Like we can create opportunities for people in our workplaces and beyond in a lot of different ways. And we can create spaces where we learn about their difficulties that they're experiencing and hopefully come to ways to create a better working environment. And even it extends beyond the working environment, just a better life together. And I'm seeing this through, different types of programs. They call them cultural competence and cultural humility trainings. I also see this in affinity groups, ERGs, and the informal groups that happen at work. Basically, any opportunity to connect with your fellow worker, learn about them, is an opportunity to build empathy and change your workplace for the better. And it happens all the time at Techqueria through our different channels and opportunities to connect. So one thing that I welcome all the participants here to think about and ask themselves is, how can I share my story in a way that builds empathy and understanding among my peers? And how can that story be a catalyst for change, not only in my individual career, but in the career of others? In the next slide, I'd like to talk about our impact and how it matters. So in this work, I frequently see that the values that we bring to the workplace, and also our cultural values, come up against what is termed "quote unquote" professionalism. And professionalism can be a loaded term. It often doesn't align with our cultural values as Latinx people, and it can be a source of conflict between like my own individual values and what I need to do to succeed. One thing that I want to say is that the work being done changing workplaces and making them more equitable, diverse, and inclusive is necessary, though. And we're not going to be able to change our representation in tech by following other people's playbooks. We need to create the changes necessary to shift the industry to accommodate to our collective power and our initiatives, and not the other way around. No one is going to fix the tech industry for us except us. And I have a discussion tomorrow on Thursday titled Decolonizing Work, where we're going to be discussing more in-depth tactics and just having a more in-depth discussion about what that means and what that looks like. Also, I want to bring up that creating change can take time, and frequently it isn't recognized, it isn't paid. Most like ERG leads and people doing this work are not paid, and it frequently doesn't help career advancement directly, and sometimes it can even come at a cost. But even when it does, I think that this is a short-term cost. In the long term, and as someone that's been involved in this community for a couple of years, I see the power that our community has, and the power that and the change that happens when members of our community start their own initiatives. And that's where Techqueria is here and positioned to do. And that's why we decided to form a nonprofit, is to help you both as an individual and as a group to make your initiatives, your visions, your dreams a reality as much as we can. So on the next slide, I picked some quotes, some recent messages from our members. You can like take a look. These were all shared in our channel. It's called Positive Vibes. You can see some general themes. We are a network for people that don't have a network and have felt isolated. Oftentimes the work that our members do to connect people to different works and positions is the first time that someone has a role in tech. A lot of our members, they're transitioning or entering a different part of their career. And it's comforting to hear that like we are pivotal in creating not only a change in the individual, but creating generational wealth. And especially nowadays when all of us are hopefully, taking the necessary precautions and sheltering in place, that could be very isolating. But I'm comforted in knowing that we're creating a type of community that is a bright spot in our day-to-day lives. Awesome. So Francis is gonna talk more about our metrics. On the next slide, I have some details on how to connect personally. You feel free to reach out. The work that is being done here at Techqueria, it's my passion, and I love to connect with all of you, both like on an individual and a group level. If you need help with ERGs or anything like that, or want to share some thoughts about what's going well or how you need help in your workplace, feel free to reach out to me, both here and on Slack. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just connecting on the next couple of days. I'm so excited about what we can build together, and I really see us as like being bridges, not only for this generation, but the next generation, and not only for ourselves here in this country, but across the continent and beyond.
All right, thanks so much, Felipe. I will go ahead and take over then. So what I wanted to kind of just discuss is like our member growth as an organization. Techqueria has been around since 2015, but we did incorporate in March of 2019. And it's just been exponential growth in so many different aspects. And so I wanted to touch on that. I also wanted to touch on the summit and, you know, what we were able to accomplish, how the demographics of the attendees, like such as yourselves, look like, and why I feel like that's a really big milestone. This is our first virtual conference. It's also our first conference in general. We were going to have one in person in the Bay Area this year, but then, you know, COVID-19 happened and we postponed, and then we were like, well, we can still, you know, we're getting like so much demand, like we should still do something. And so we did. And then the last thing I want to cover is just like the individuals who helped make this summit a reality, and then covering the roadmap, past and future. All right. So first thing, all right, hold on. Okay, the first thing is that I wanted to cover is just like the different chapters and kind of where we are in terms of our presence as an organization. So we actually have quite a few chapters across the US. Before COVID-19, we were even thinking of expanding to Mexico City. But, you know, those plans are on hiatus for a moment, I will say. And we also decided to pause even on creating new chapters and launching in new cities because of COVID-19. But I think I'll talk on this in a little bit. But in the future, I think we'll be creating a trial position so that we can still softly launch new more cities if folks are really interested in that. So as of, you know, this month actually, or no, last month, we have over 11,000 members just across the world within Techqueria. We've held over 150 different events. This one is by far our biggest one, online or offline. And then 20% of our members are actually weekly active users within our Slack community. So the engagement within our community is actually really high based on average standards. And one of my favorite parts about Techqueria, and obviously, you know, I'm a little biased because I work at Slack, but it is in fact the Slack community. Even before working at Slack, I was in this, you know, Slack community, and this community is by far the largest online community for Latinx professionals in tech. It is unmatched in engagement and it is unmatched in size. You will not find another community like this one. One of my favorite channels, I'll show you my other favorite channel soon, but one of my favorite channels is the introductions channel. And when I first joined this channel, over 3 years ago, this one was the one that popped out the most. It's you know, the one where you kind of have to introduce yourself to everybody else in the Techqueria community. But it really popped out to me because as of that, at that point, I was kind of the only person Latina in my CS classes. I was the only Latina in the workplace for most of my, you know, my career at that point. And, you know, in school, just in general, I was the only Latina who was interested in this computer science thing in the tech industry. And going into that channel and realizing there were thousands of other people like me really expanded my mind. And it's so funny, when you find yourself represented in this space, it's not something you have to think about anymore. You don't have to worry about it. You can actually just focus on excelling and networking and just growing your career, because you don't have to worry about that imposter syndrome. You don't have to worry about oh, do I belong in this space? I knew at that point, I definitely belong. There was no question about it when I joined that channel. So definitely join, become a member if you're interested. It's a great community. People are really willing to help out. And I'll go ahead and share my absolutely favorite channel besides introductions. It's actually Mascotas. Mascotas means pets in Spanish, and most of us tend to share pictures of our dogs, but there's other mascotas shared there too. And I had my dog earlier. I don't know if you saw, but his name is Shirampo, and that I want to expand on that a little bit because it's kind of relevant to my heritage. So my mom grew up in Piura, in the mountains of Piura. She didn't have electricity for most of her childhood. She moved to the States, immigrated to the States to study when she was in her early 20s. But growing up, she had, a farm when she was in the mountains of Piura, and she had a lot of chickens. And she would call these chickens Shirampo because she had a childhood friend called Shirelo, and he didn't have a lot of hair, and people made fun of him. And so, I don't know, caught on is probably not the nicest story, but she basically started calling her chickens Shirampo if they didn't have a lot of hair. And then we got this dog, a mini dachshund. We adopted it from my tia, and she decided to call him Shirampo. And he actually doesn't have a lot of hair, so it makes sense. But it's not even a real word. It's just something she made up. She said initially oh yeah, it's Peruvian slang. And I looked into it and I was like, this is not a word at all. So just a little bit about myself there. And then my least favorite channel is actually Comida. I know you're wondering what? How can that be your least favorite channel? Well, I can't cook for shit. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but I really can't. I'm not a great cook. Both my parents are amazing cooks. They actually used to own a Peruvian restaurant. I have oh yeah, there's the image right there in the back. Should have brought that in, but yeah, they're great. I'm not great at it, but that doesn't matter. It's okay. You don't have to be a great cook to be a good Latinx person or anything. I just love my culture. I love my family. I love my language. I love this community. And you're not defined by one specific thing, So that's something I wanted to point out as well. Okay, so cheesy sentimental stuff aside, going back to the statistics, we have just been growing so much as a community, and it's been really great to see that. We reached 10,000 members in July of this year, and 2 months later, we actually reached 11,000 members. So it just grew 1,000 members over 2 months. At this rate of trajectory, Techqueria will have over 20,000 members just in general within the next 2 years. And just, I think yesterday, we reached over 8,000 members in our Slack community. So it's just amazing, awesome. I'm really proud of that. And again, if you're hesitant, please definitely check it out. It's a really great community. Definitely the largest of its kind. Okay, so taking it back and transitioning a bit, what about the summit, right? I wanted to kind of break down how the summit played out. So we started planning out for the summit in I want to say early August or late July. So we really made this all happen within the span of less than 3 months. So again, the team who contributed, super amazing job. And I'm going to thank every last one of them soon, but I wanted to kind of give a breakdown of the summit attendees, because I think this speaks a lot to where we're headed, in a positive, that we're headed in a positive direction. So 88% of attendees today do identify as Latinx, which is great. We do, love our allies. So thank you for showing up here. I hope you learned something. We had over 1,500 RSVPs, and all of these numbers are just as of this morning. So maybe, there's more, we don't know. 36% are in product design or engineering. So really kind of relevant to the folks who are building stuff within the tech industry. 60% are female, which is unprecedented, right? Within the tech industry, it's always been known as a very male, predominantly male, industry. So to see that within our own community, recognizing everything that was amazing to see. And then the average years of experience, this was great to see too. It's basically kind of mid-level, so 6.72 years of experience on average for attendees. And 83% of you all apparently are open to job ops. So that's great to hear. Definitely check out the expo booths if you're looking. We do have some recruiters available at the booths. And all of this would not have been possible at all without our core team of 12 people. So Felipe and I, and then these lovely folks. And I just want to give an individual thank you to each of them, because they put in so much work over these past few weeks, or actually 3 months, to make this happen. So first I'll start with Mary Ramirez. Mary actually joined the team as a partnerships lead back in the summer, and she has been doing amazing work. So Mary, if you're listening to this, like, you have exceeded all my expectations, like when you first started as just a volunteer, and you were doing so much amazing work. I was like, we have to hire Mary. Like, we can't live without Mary at this point. So Mary, like, just exceed all expectations, and I really appreciate you. So thank you. And then the next person is Francisco Cruz Mendoza. So Francisco, I've actually known personally for a long time, I feel. We went to the movies together. I forgot what movie we saw, but it was okay. I forgot what it was, but Francisco. So what's funny about Francisco is that anytime when I first started learning about Francisco or getting to know him, he reminded me a lot of my dad and brother, because both my dad and brother have the name Francisco. And so it's like, I was always thinking, oh yeah, I can't confuse the two because I know so many Franciscos in my life. But now, like, there's very clear separation. Like, I know all the different Franciscos, and I have so much appreciation for this one because he does such amazing work with the social media presence of Techqueria. So before, it was kind of like, you know, we would have a few organizers from the national, like, and local teams to, like, help us out with social media. But ever since Francisco came on, he's really developed a good strategy when it comes to, like, you know, showcasing the community, showcasing different partnerships, showcasing different updates, and all the different social media channels that Techqueria owns. And it's really helped us create, like, a much stronger presence online that people and our members can actively engage with. So that would not have been possible if he had not been onboarded. So thank you so much, Francisco. The next person is Gadi. Gadi is, like, has such a bombastic personality. She's from Miami. She's actually going to be the moderator for the Day 2 keynote tomorrow with Max from Garibu. Gadi has so much energy, and I really appreciate her as the chapter director for Miami, and also just someone who helped make the Day 2 keynote a reality, among with, like, just helping out with influencers and comms in general for the summit. So thank you so much, Gadi. Next up is Sal. And Sal, I can't say enough good things about Sal. Sal has been instrumental, like, throughout this entire summit. Initially, he was just going to help out, I think, with like sessions and raffle prizes, but then it quickly ballooned, and he was, like, helping with this and helping with that. And I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so, yeah, we're actually hoping to onboard Sal more on this team as well, because we think, like, he could be great to help out with, like, creating an event strategy for overall Techqueria events across natural and local teams. So really excited to be working with Sal even more closely. He also created the Spotify playlist, so check that out if you haven't already. Very, very good music. I was like, yeah, kind of starting to dance a little bit there. So yeah, thank you so much, Sal. I really appreciate it. Next one is Michael. So Michael and I actually met through the Latinx Level Up program, which was hosted by the K4 Center last year. And so Michael and I got to know each other through that. And it was like this leadership program for Latinx leaders within the tech industry. And Michael has, like, such a unique background. He majored in women's studies in college, and then he was a police officer focusing on, I believe, domestic violence for a while. And then he became an executive recruiter. He just has this extremely unique journey, and he's like, he just takes the initiative when it comes to things a lot. Like, he'll just do it, like the Adelanto Juntos podcast, and, like, you know, his work with like recruiting diverse candidates for, like, the top of the top, you know, roles at his company Box. So, wow. Okay. I was talking about Michael from, like, a personal perspective, but he helped a lot with, like, the summit when it comes to comms, and then also with influencers. He reached out. So I don't know if you know that, well, okay, no one should know this, but, like, we reached out to, like, a bunch of influencers within the Latinx and tech space and basically asked, like, hey, can you share out LHA Summit on your networks. And so Michael was instrumental with that. He's just really good at networking, obviously. So thank you so much, Michael, for that. And then Kat, so I know I'm close on time here, but I'm gonna keep going. So Kat, I actually just came to know through summit planning. So I hadn't known Kat before, but Kat really came through with like helping with Hop-In. So she created the different Hop-In guides for the sponsors, the partners, the attendees, the speakers. So if you're a speaker, you've probably met with Kat or Sal to go through Hop-In, because Hop-In, like, there's just a lot going on. So Kat was instrumental there, and Kat has a really, I think, bubbly personality in my opinion. So it has been great working with her, and I've enjoyed it a lot. So thank you so much, Kat. Next up is Maria. Maria, I didn't get a chance to interact with you as much, but I know you and Francisco were instrumental, along with Irene, to create all the different social media assets for the summit, which was like, whoa, that really like blew up, because initially we were planning to have like maybe 10 sessions, and then it like went to almost 40 sessions, I think. And like I thought it was the final count. So it's like just so much, because we had so much demand from speakers, from different partners to like do different things. And all of you, Francisco, Maria, and Irene, who made up the social media team, just did such an amazing job keeping up with all those different asset changes. So thank you so much. Yazeli, I also didn't know you before the summit, but I'm really glad I got to know you during the planning. You helped so much with influencers, so I really appreciate that. And then you also just stepped in whenever you could with other stuff. So thank you so much, Yazeli. Roberto, didn't get to interact with you as much either, but thank you so much for helping out with comms and Hop-In, and also just for helping us with the email newsletter. Roberto is actually our email newsletter lead, aside from this. So thank you so much, Roberto. And then Irene, I know I gave you a shout out earlier, but thank you so much again for helping with social media assets, because there was like a lot. So thank you again so much. And that's a wrap on that. So like, again, really appreciate all the work everyone put in. It was, you know, a huge, huge collective team effort. And so I really appreciate each and every one of you, and gifts will be coming soon. Okay, so
I wanted to give a shout out to Frances. I wanted to give a big shout out to Frances for all the work that she's been putting in. She's been leading this summit and initiative on fronts, and she's done a fantastic job. And it wouldn't be a reality without you, Frances. So thank you.
Thanks, Felipe. Yeah, shout out to you as well. You helped a lot with like the website. There were so many little updates we had to make all the time, but yeah, appreciate it. So the next thing I wanted to share was just the roadmap. And I know we got 3 minutes left, but I think we'll have enough time. So really quick, I just wanted to kind of talk about what we launched in 2020 as an org. So back in January, we launched a brand new events platform because we had no idea COVID was happening. And so we're like, we're going to expand. And so we're going to have this spanking new platform with like where we can host all our events, and it's going to be beautiful and scalable. And, you know, we still use it. But then, you know, March, we entered this, this new reality that we're in. We really had to change course, take a step back, evaluate what we wanted to do moving forward. And so we actually, obviously completely transitioned to virtual events for the safety of our members and our community. We paused on launching new chapters in new cities. And the very next month, you know, once like things started to ramp up in the US with the virus, we actually launched the COVID-19 fund. And that was a huge, again, team effort. Everything with Techqueria is always going to be a team effort. It's never like one person, it's never two people. It's like always at least 5 different people helping with any initiative. And so that was the same thing here. I think it was like 20 people with the COVID-19 fund, but we were able to raise over 50K in about 2 weeks with the support of our community to help over 120 undocumented individuals and or families during this still extremely unprecedented time. And I think like that just spoke to the strength of our community and what we prioritize. Aside from this, you know, we also have a no tech for ICE policy that we're very strict on, where we cannot partner with any tech company or any company in general that has an active contract with ICE, because it's just against our core values, and it's something that personally affects a lot of our members and ourselves on the leadership team. What else we launched? We also launched a podcast back in the summer with a California nonprofit. So shout out to Jose Fermoso if you're out there. That's basically, I think we have 2 episodes out already, but a lot of it is like kind of centered on our experiences as a Latinx community with COVID-19, the Black Lives Matter movement. There's an episode on that, and just like our general experiences as Latinx and tech professionals. And then starting, late July, we started to grow the staff. So initially, in the start of the year, it was just Felipe and I. Obviously, at our scale, we should probably have even more people, but, we have to grow at a pace we're comfortable with. But we have been able to grow the team from 2 to 5 people over the past couple of months. And we're really excited to keep growing as it makes sense and as we scale our community even further. And then here we are, we got the summit. It's our first conference. It's the first time doing anything virtual. So that's really exciting. And in terms of what we want, roadmap upcoming, we want to revamp our code of conduct guidelines based on like new experiences and learnings that we've gone through as a community at our scale. We want to establish a trust and safety committee that specifically helps with moderation. And we want to create a new trial position for chapter directors so that there are higher standards for folks if they really want to kind of become a leader within our space and scale to different cities. We're also planning on launching a job board soon. We've been pivoting with the job board a lot, but we're finally going to be working with the WordPress special projects team to launch that soon. And we're even starting the trademark process so that no one can take the Techqueria name and use it in vain, whatever. So that's pretty much it. The last thing I wanted to end on is like, please vote. Please do that. For the first time in history, like the Latinx electorate is like the largest voting, like second largest voting block. It's, it's the largest non-white voting block. We're about 32 million voters, I believe. So voting matters. It's our way to be heard. Make sure to do it. We're only 26 days from the election. And also, regardless of what happens, Techqueria as an organization will probably forever be changed. But your voice and your vote matters. Please vote. And with that, I will wrap up. If you want to, feel free to connect with us, conference@techqueria.org for any conference stuff or just general inquiries. Our website, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, you name it, we're on all those different platforms. So, gracias, lo aprecio. Thank you for listening. Obrigado. Sessions will be starting now, so feel free to check those out. And then Felipe, you want to say a few words? Oh, Felipe, you're muted.
Oh, I was just saying, have fun, y'all. Looking forward to connecting.
Yeah, thanks everyone. See you in the sessions. Ciao.
Ciao.